Animals are such beautiful and honest creatures, and we all love having them around, such as dogs, cats, birds, and other types of animals. Not only do they keep us company, they might even play a role in solving your death if foul play was found out to be involved. Here are 5 animals that unintentionally solved their owners or just a random person's death. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, well, I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you that if you owned cats and you died right in front of them, they wouldn't eat you. No, cats are not that horrible. Yeah, they are. But I am a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in these videos. So I like scary facts, true crimes, anything to do with the paranormal, aliens, any of that good stuff, and I love to draw. So I combine all of that into these videos to hopefully bring you a unique experience. Now, you can support me, if you like, by purchasing a print from one of these drawings that you see in the videos that I do. You can head across to Redbubble to get one of them. Or if you are a creative person and you like creating felt toy patterns, I have an Etsy store where you can buy felt toy patterns and you can create your own toy from one of the patterns that I do make. I have horror movie characters on there. I have my own designs. So if you are interested in that, head across there and have a look. And with that being said, let's get on with the video and let's get on with the drawing. On the 25th of April 1935 in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, a captured 4-metre tiger shark regurgitated a human tattooed arm, which started an investigation into a potential murder or shark attack death. The shark was captured near Coogee Beach and taken to Coogee Aquarium Baths, where it was put into a tank and displayed to the public, but the shark soon started to get sick and vomited up while a small crowd of people were viewing the shark. After the shark vomited up the arm, it was taken and analysed and found that the arm was not bitten off by a shark, so this case turned into a murder investigation. The arm was estimated to have been in the shark's stomach for between 8 to 18 days, but surprisingly the arm was well preserved, which allowed the investigators to see the tattoo on the arm of 2 boxers fighting. Sharks have a slow digestive system, so this is why the arm was in good condition. The picture of the tattoo was put out into the public eye, and the man that the arm belonged to was identified by the victim's brother to be 45-year-old Jim Smith, who had been missing for several weeks. Fingerprints check determined that it was indeed Jim Smith, a former boxer and informant of the police who was a minor criminal that got involved in the underworld of illegal gambling. Jim ended up getting mixed up with a supposed respected entrepreneur named Reginald Lloyd Holmes, who ran a highly successful boat building business, but he was also tangled up in illegal acts such as illegal smuggling rings, using his speedboats to pick up drugs and other contraband that were thrown overboard from ships in the Sydney harbour. Jim apparently worked for Reginald on the odd occasion to drive one of the boats for collection, but Jim and Reginald got into an argument because of an insurance scam involving a yacht. Jim was listed to sink it so Reginald could claim the insurance money, but Jim told the police, as he was an informant, that it was all suspicious what Reginald was doing. Jim was killed and disposed of, and Reginald was investigated along with another man that worked for Reginald named Patrick Brady, but Reginald tried to take his own life by shooting himself in the head from one of his speedboats on the river, which failed. But not long after that, he would be successful, where he was found slumped over his steering wheel in his car on a dock in Dawes Point. He was going to testify against Patrick as well, so Patrick was pulled in and charged with the death of Jim Smith. After hours of grueling interrogation, Patrick said that Reginald was the mastermind behind the whole thing, and Patrick took Jim to his cottage, killed and dismembered Jim, and then threw his body parts into the sea, but holding onto the arm with the tattoo, threatening Reginald that he would be next if he didn't give him a good payout. Reginald then threw the arm out into the sea in a panic. But Patrick went to trial but couldn't be convicted because it was not possible to charge someone with murder only based on having an arm as evidence and no other body parts of Jim being found. Patrick was acquitted of murder and walked out a free man that maintained his innocence. He died in 1965 at the age of 76, and we may never know the real story of this murder. A forensic entomologist named Dr. Emily Goff tells of one of the most memorable cases from 1985 where a grasshopper solved the murder of a Texas woman. He found the crushed grasshopper on the woman's clothing, and after some analysis, it was found to be missing its left leg. Several suspects were investigated and their homes searched. Clothes from the suspects were examined, and one pair of pants had a grasshopper left leg attached to it. It was analysed and paired with the crushed grasshopper's body, and it was an identical match to where the tear had happened on the grasshopper. In court, the jury argued that grasshoppers do shed their legs like this, but it was way too much of an exact match not to think that it was part of the grasshopper. The suspect was convicted of murder and sentenced. Do you have high inflammation in your body? Are you a shit sleeper? Do you get up numerous times during the night to pee? And is your recovery from exercise shocking where you are sore for days and days? Well, I may have the answer for you, and it's called a grounding mat from Down to Ground. Now, these guys sell grounding mats. They sell ones that you can sleep on, you can stand on. They sell grounding sheets. They sell the pillowcases. There's other good stuff on there for you to be able to use as a tool to help you relieve some of the pain in your body. Now, this replicates the ions that you get from standing out in the yard. If you go and stand out in the yard barefoot, you can reap those benefits from the earth. Now, some of us don't have that luxury, so sleeping on a grounding mat that does the same thing for 8 hours will benefit you dramatically. Now, this thing just plugs into the electrical socket in your house, but it doesn't use the electricity. It only uses the grounding ports in your house, so you will not get electrocuted. Now, Down to Ground gives you one of these bad boys so you can plug straight into your socket to make sure that your house is earthed properly, and if it's not, you can take the appropriate measures to get an electrician out to earth it properly, because it should be anyway. Now, if this sounds like something that you could be interested in, you can head across to downtoground.co. I have all the details in the description below, and you can use my code to get 10% off your whole entire order. Now, if this thing does not work for you and you're not happy with it, send it back for a full refund. Well, enough about that, let's get back into the video. A 7-year-old girl named Danielle Van Dam disappeared from her home in Sabre Springs, California during the night on the 1st or 2nd of February 2002. Her mother, Brenda, was out with friends, and her father, Damon, was looking after Danielle and her 2 brothers. When Brenda came home, she noticed the alarm light on their security system was blinking and the side door was open, so she just shut it and kept chatting with her friends until 2:30 a.m. Once she finished, she went to bed, not thinking too much of the kids. 1 hour later, Damon woke to the security system flashing again and found the back door open, so he just closed it, thinking that it was just his wife coming home and she just forgot to shut the door. When morning came, they could not find Danielle, so they called police. Search parties searched for weeks until her naked, partially decomposed body was found near a trail in Dehesa, California on the 27th of February 2002, which was nearly a month later. Suspects were investigated, including a neighbour that lived 2 doors down, 49-year-old at the time, David Westerfield. He had a luxury motorhome and had apparently stocked it up with supplies and had left around the time that Brenda had called the police to report her daughter missing. David headed to a campsite called Silver Strand State Beach for 2 nights, then drove back home. He dropped off 2 blankets, 2 pillow covers, and a jacket to a dry cleaner that all had Danielle's blood on them. He left this part out of the initial interrogation with police, but the jacket was retrieved from the dry cleaner and tested. Even though David cleaned his motorhome after coming back from the trip he took with Danielle, forensics still found small blood marks and stains in the motorhome and on David's jacket. But what really topped this mystery off was that Danielle's dog hairs were in David's home and blanket that were on her PJs because the family dog loved to cuddle up with Danielle every night while she slept. David was sentenced to death in January of 2003, but is currently still alive waiting on death row. Because Danielle's body was so decomposed, forensics couldn't determine how she died, but David was found with child pornography, so this only paints a very, very disturbing picture of what might have happened. A 19-year-old woman named Lori Ann Orker was murdered in 1989 in Northumberland, Pennsylvania. She was a worker of a pet store, and one day she did not show up for work, but her car was found a short distance from the pet store where she worked. Security footage from an ATM was found outside the mall and played to see if they could see Lori on it, but it was a little grainy as the tape was old and the security cameras only picked up a few seconds of footage every 10 seconds. But they were able to see Lori walking to her work from her parked car, but she was intercepted and got into a Chevy Celebrity in the car park, one that was owned by her soon-to-be ex-husband's father, but his father sold it a few days later after Lori went missing. Lori and her husband had been going through a messy divorce and an even messier custody battle of their son. Robert, Lori's husband, was suspect number one because he had taken out a life insurance policy on Lori shortly before she disappeared. 3 weeks after Lori went missing, her body was found by another woman walking who recalls the rancid odours she smelt. Lori had been stabbed multiple times and she was pretty badly decomposed. Dental records had to be done to identify that it was Lori. Over the next few years, authorities tried to track down the Chevy Celebrity as it had passed through a lot of owners, but they were able to get it and do a full examination on the car. They compared it with the footage on the security tape and it appeared to be a match. Also, Lori's hair and the hair of her cat were still able to be picked up and found in the car after all that time, and Robert was charged with murder in May of 1992. In 2015, a 19-year-old African grey parrot named Bud witnessed his owner being murdered right in front of his eyes by his own wife, Glenna, and became number one witness to the case. Martin Durham owned the bird and was murdered in his home. Bud was so traumatized by the event that all he would say was phrases from the couple arguing and ended it with a very panicky, "Don't shoot! Don't fucking shoot!" 1 year after the murder, no one had been arrested, and Martin's family wanted Glenna arrested because they believed that she killed her own husband, so Martin's ex-wife, Christina Keller, who now owned the bird, sent a video of Bud to a TV reporter saying words that sounded like an argument between two people. The video goes for 2 minutes and shows Bud arguing in both tones of voices and saying things like, "Shut up" and "Get your ass over here." Glenna had shot Martin 5 times and then attempted to commit suicide herself with the same gun, but she failed. It was all because Glenna was apparently a severe gambler and she had gambled all their money away and couldn't pay bills. Martin was pretty tight with his money and he had confronted Glenna over it because they were going to lose their home because the mortgage hadn't been paid for a year. Bud the parrot had given crucial evidence of the argument, reciting key pieces of the argument that incriminated Glenna. People say that the way Bud mimicked the event was like hearing a recording device of the night that Martin was murdered. Glenna was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Now, what do you think of these cases of animals unintentionally solving murders? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you know of any other cases like this. Now, the illustration that I did for this video today was a bit of an experiment. There was a few things that I wanted to try and work on and do, such as feathers and fur, because it's not my strong point. So this is a very weird illustration. Like, it's okay, but yeah, it's just basically all the animals in the story today combined into like a Frankenstein thing, and then it was just disposed of because it didn't work out, and it's just left on the ground somewhere. And yeah, that's basically it. I decided to add a little bit of washed out watercolor for sort of representing blood in this, and yeah, I sort of just left it at that. But yeah, like I said, very experimenty this one, and I'm not sure if I like it or not. But anyway, that is it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Dislike it, I couldn't give two shits what you do, because any interaction that you give me goes towards the algorithm for other people to find me. And hopefully you watch whatever is left of this video, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.